So of course, one day after I have recorded the Ultimate Fighter Season 31 cast predictions, they come out with an update that it's actually not going to be what I originally thought it was. I thought it was just going to be returning faces that we knew from Dana White's Contender Series Ultimate Fighter seasons in the past. So I wasted a lot of time digging through previous Ultimate Fighter seasons, and now we've got a little bit more news. It's going to be that it's going to be half the contestants being UFC veterans who have been cut, with the other half being prospects. A veterans versus prospects card or Ultimate Fighter. This sounds really, really exciting. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if they're going to make them fight to get into the house. I kind of hope they do. That would be awesome, but if they don't, it means that the cast will be a little bit smaller, so maybe a lot of these guys that I bring up to you guys won't be in the house, but I'm pretty confident in this list. I'm actually starting with the lightweights. I'm more confident in the lightweight list than the bantamweight list, believe it or not. But the first one is Joe Gennady. I think he's a shoo-in. I think he's 100% going to be in there. He's technically not like a UFC veteran, but it's not like he hasn't fought in the UFC before. He fought on the Ultimate Fighter Season 27 finals. He also beat a couple of good guys in the Ultimate Fighter Season 27. He's on a win streak right now. I think he's a shoo-in to get into the UFC sometime this year, if not the Ultimate Fighter, if not Dana White's Contender Series. Austin Hubbard's another guy. He's kind of been grinding a little bit since he got cut. He's on a 2-fight win streak now since over Julian Lane, and also a 5-0 opponent as well, which is a pretty good look really. So Austin Hubbard I think could be in there too. Will Brooks, another guy that got cut a while ago. He's 36 years old. He's getting up there in age, but he's gone on a nice win streak since he got cut. You know what I mean? He fought a couple of times, won a couple of times, then fought to a draw in PFL, and then he lost to Gleison Tebow, but then since then he's now on another win streak, 4-fight win streak. A win over Luis Pena recently at XMMA. Maybe he could be on the Ultimate Fighter. Roosevelt Roberts, I'm pretty confident this guy will probably end up being on the Ultimate Fighter again. And there's something about this that is interesting. His fight on LFA got cancelled. I don't know the reason for that, but maybe, just maybe, a little conspiracy, that fight got cancelled because he's on TUF. I highly doubt it, but that's a little conspiracy for you guys. Dakota Bush, he's 10-4. He's on a 2-fight win streak now over pretty good guys. 8-4 opponent, 6-2 opponent. He didn't have a good UFC run whatsoever. He lost to Austin Hubbard and Vyacheslav Borshev. But since then, he's won a couple of fights. I think he could probably be on the Ultimate Fighter. I wouldn't be too surprised if he was. Mason Jones is another one. You might be surprised at this pick, but Mason Jones is not signed to the UFC, or I believe he's under UFC contract, but he left under his own terms because he wants to fight elsewhere, maybe get some more experience, maybe win a couple of more fights, and then come back. That's kind of the situation I think he's made for himself. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I do believe he's not going to be fighting in the UFC for a while, but he said that he wants to fight elsewhere and then come back. So I don't know what the situation was with Mason Jones. Maybe they just tell him, hey, let's just go on the Ultimate Fighter. We'll remove you from the roster. Come on, TUF. I don't know. Maybe that's the situation that happens. Zhu Rong is another guy. He is from China. I'm not 100% sure if this guy can speak fluent English, but UFC does seem to kind of like him. They gave him a UFC opportunity at a young age. He's in a lot of UFC fighters' corners. You saw him in a lot of corners for the Road to UFC series. Maybe he's not on the show, but I think he could make a good addition. He did recently win a fight after getting cut after losing to Ignacio Bahamondes. He did actually get a win in the UFC 2. He beat Brandon Jenkins, but it wasn't that good of a performance, really. The next one is Shane Campbell. He's from Canada. He's an older guy. He's 35 years old. He hasn't been in the UFC for a while. It was actually in 2016 he was last in the UFC, but he's gone on a really nice kind of streak. He's lost a couple of times, but now he's on a real good win streak now over good opponents, and I think that he should be able to maybe find himself on TUF. The last one is Kurt Holobar, a older guy, 36 years old, 19-7 record. He had a bad UFC run. He lost 4 fights, but he's won a couple since then. Now, the next guys are going to be the UFC lightweight, or the lightweight prospects, not the UFC veterans. The first prospect on the list is Lee Hammond. He's a young guy. He's 26 years old. He's 5-0, but he is from Ireland, and I do feel like the UFC is going to be looking for some Irish fighters to kind of be on Conor McGregor's team, or maybe get Conor McGregor to get them on his team, you know what I mean? And he's 5-0. He hasn't really fought anyone amazing, I don't know how he would do against some of the veterans like Will Brooks, this and that, because it really would be a huge step up in competition, but he's got a very long amateur career. I think maybe he could be on the show. Another guy is Adam Cullen. He's 6-0. He's from the UK, from England. He's 24 years old. Hasn't fought anyone incredible, but he has beaten some really good guys on the come up. 5-1, 4-0, 5-2, 3-2, all by first round finish. Unreal stuff. I feel like maybe he could be a good addition to the show as well, to be honest. Next one is George Hardwick. I don't think he's going to be on TUF. I think he's going to get signed straight to UFC, or maybe worst case Dana White's Contender Series. But yeah, he's got a fight booked. I don't think that they're going to make him cancel that fight at Cage Warriors, especially since he's headlining. But I thought I'd just better throw him on the list just in case it happened. Next one is Johnny Hopper. I'm pretty sure this guy will probably be on the show. He's 26 years old. He's an exciting fighter. He's 7-1 on a win streak. A lot of first round finishes as well on his record. Seems to have a pretty fun personality, likable personality that would go well on TUF. I think maybe he could be on there too. Another one is Colton England. He is a former Dana White's Contender Series fighter. Lost by first round TKO to Manuel Torres, but since then he's bounced back with 3 wins over some good competition, and he fought a 4-22 guy. So I don't know, maybe he could be there. Next one is a couple of random ones, maybe. Enrique Gonzalez, he's 13-4, he's only 24 years old, but he does have a win over someone else that's on this list called Christian Perez, and Christian Perez is also on the list. He's 11-1, he's 23 years old, from Mexico. I feel like the UFC probably wants at least one Mexican fighter on TUF because they are really trying to get into that Mexican market now. They're building up a UFC Performance Institute in Mexico, and maybe if you put them both on the show, I don't know if they would, but if you put them both on the show, it really would maybe add some sort of like past history drama, whatever, you know what I mean. So maybe that could be a pairing that adds on. Now we're going to get into the bantamweights, which I'm a little bit less confident on, but we'll start with the bantamweight veterans that have been cut, and then we'll move on to the prospects as well. The first person on my list is Ray Borg. I know it might be a little bit of a weird one because he's fought in Eagle FC before. He actually fought for a title in the UFC as well. And if the UFC wanted him, they'd probably just sign him straight to the UFC. But he is signed to Eagle FC at the moment, I believe. But Kevin Lee just got released from Eagle FC. Maybe Eagle FC is not going to do any promotions, any events in USA anymore. So they've kind of let everyone go. Like Jorgen De Castro is now going to be fighting for PFL. I think they're going to release all of their USA-based fighters. So Ray Borg is probably going to be a free agent now or soon. And I feel like maybe if you wanted to bring him back with some hype, you could probably just put him on The Ultimate Fighter. He's still 29 years old. He's a UFC veteran. He fought 12 times. He literally fought for a title at one point. Or did he fight for a title? He did, yeah. He fought against Demetrius Johnson. How could I forget? Let's move on. The next one is Jose Torres. If this guy is on the show, I will lose my mind. I've been advocating for Jose Torres to be re-signed to the UFC for a very, very long time. He was a flyweight in the UFC, like Ray Borg was, but he is fighting at bantamweight now, and he's beaten some good guys, dude. Jose Torres would really shake up the 125-pound division if he won the show at 135, then dropped down a weight class. But if he wanted to stay at 135, he can do that too. He's the only guy to beat Amir Albazi, and that kind of tells you something about how good this guy is. He's also beaten Blaine Driscoll as well recently, beat a 13-2 opponent as well. I don't really know what's going on with him, but if this guy made it on the Ultimate Fighter Season 31, I don't know what I'll do with myself. I'll probably lose it. Cody Gibson's another guy. He's an older guy. He's 35, 19-8. He's on a win. He lost to Ray Borg, but then he just recently beat a 15-9 opponent. He's kind of been hustling ever since he did get released from the UFC in 2015. So it was a long time ago, but he's got a win over John Dodson as well recently, which is pretty cool. I think maybe he could make a pretty good addition to the show. Next one is Hunter Azur. This guy is probably a more confident pick for me to guess who's going to be on the show. At the end of the day, Hunter Azur fought to a split decision against Jack Shaw, but then he did lose on Icon FC, but now he's bounced back with a win. I think, was there something to do? I don't know, I'm not going to start a rumor. I'm thinking about USADA maybe. That's why he was released so early, because in hindsight, that's weird to release someone after they lose by split decision against Jack Shaw, you know what I mean? And then 11 months later, so there's a big gap. But anyway, I don't know. He's on a win right now. Maybe he could be on there. Another one is Jay Perrin. Jay Perrin seems to kind of have the personality to get people interested in the Ultimate Fighter, or maybe people would kind of just watch the Ultimate Fighter and maybe laugh at him because he kind of embarrassed himself really badly just by the comments he was making against Raul Rosas Jr. Like, I know it's the UFC, I know you can talk trash, but just kind of like the way he was acting and like talking about Red Rosas, it's just kind of weird, you know what I mean? So maybe he could be on TUF. I don't know. Maybe they don't even bother. But if he was on TUF, I feel like people would watch just to kind of watch Jay Perrin and see how he did. To be honest, another one is maybe like not something's gonna happen. Said Yokub Kokramonov, 10-3. He just got released from the UFC. I don't really know why. I don't know why at all. He's 2-1. He was beating Said Nurmagomedov, and then he got guillotined. I'm not too sure what's going on. Maybe there's something behind the scenes that we don't know about. But yeah, he's been released from the UFC. It's a weird one. It really is. I don't understand what's going on. But I think that he was like hinting at retirement on Twitter. So I don't really know what's happening. I don't know if he's retiring. I don't know if he wants to come back. I have no idea what's going on with Said Yokub. Maybe he could be on TUF 31. Who knows? Next one is Ali Al-Kasi, 13-6. He has been on the grind since he got released from the UFC in 2020. He beat a couple of guys, went on a win streak over some good fighters, lost to Jesse Arnett, who I believe is actually a former UFC fighter himself, and then beat him again in a rematch. So that could be pretty cool. No, he's not a UFC fighter. What am I on about? Anyway, the point is, Ali Akasi, I think maybe he could be on the show. Could be cool. Gerardo de Freitas, another guy that's been hustling since getting cut in 2020. I don't know if this guy speaks fluent English, but if he does, he could probably be on the show. Timur Valiev, 18-3. He did get released from the UFC after losing to Jack Shaw. I don't really know why. Again, another weird release because it was coming off a loss to Jack Shaw. So Jack Shaw really ending the UFC careers of many people. But maybe it was something to do with USADA. I don't know if he lost and then got a USADA. I've no idea what's going on, but you know what I mean. I don't know. Ludovic Shalinian, again, this is a weird one. He was on The Ultimate Fighter Season 29. And then he lost to Jack Shaw. Common theme, right? And then he lost to Johnny Munoz Jr. He hasn't really looked good, but he does have a win over Mitch Raposo, which is a pretty good win. And also a win over Yuma Horiguchi, which is a good win as well. So, I don't know. Maybe he could be on there, maybe not. He probably won't be, but he's just a guy that could be on the show, really. Let's get into the bantamweight prospects. I don't actually have many on the list, but I'm sure the UFC's scouting team is better than me, just in my bedroom, right? Surely. The first prospect I want to talk about is John Sweeney. This guy is definitely going to be in the UFC in 2023. He's really, really good, and he's got a personality, man. I think this guy, if he was on the show, would really add a lot of personality to the show. He would be funny, and I think that he would get people to like him. I think he'd build a fan base just by being on the show. He's actually a pretty cool guy. His interviews are entertaining. His fights are somewhat entertaining. His most recent fight wasn't that great, but he's still a good fighter, great boxer, great wrestler, all that sort of thing. He's on a win streak. Good prospect. I think he should be in the UFC. The UFC should sign this guy. He's cool, and I think people would like him. The next one is Carolan Loughran. He is a bantamweight from Ireland. Once again, going with that Ireland theme. I do think that the UFC probably wants a couple of Irish fighters on the season. I think Carolan Loughran would be perfect for that. Definitely a personality. Definitely got some good wins in his career as well. And he's actually huge for 135 as well, is one thing that I've noticed about him fighting. So he could be a pretty good prospect to add to the show. Nathan Fletcher is on here as well, 7-1. His one loss to Dominic Wooden. And Dominic Wooden was a guy that was meant to fight on Dana White's Contender Series, but he had some contract problems. Then he ended up fighting Michel Martignoni, who lost. And maybe Michel Martignoni could be a guy that you put on TUF, but I'm more thinking of him as like a Dana White's Contender Series guy. But I don't know, man. I think he would be a good option as well. He's from the UK. Conor McGregor would probably like him. You know what I mean? Levi Moles, a little bit of red flag on this guy. I think he's retired, but I'm not 100% sure. I think he's retired. But if he's not retired, he would be perfect. He's 16-4. He's really good. He's beaten some really good guys. I mean, he beat Teruto Ishihara, former UFC fighter. And honestly, Teruto Ishihara would be a really good addition to the show as well, now that I think about it. But I just don't think he's fighting at 135. I know he just lost, which is a bit of an eh. But if he didn't have that loss, I think you could put him on there too, because he's a personality, dude. He would be hilarious on the show, but unfortunately I just don't think he's gonna be there. But anyway, as for Levi Moles, I think this guy would be a really, really good prospect, but I think he's retired. I think he's retired. I'm not too sure. Someone let me know in the comments if you know. Austin Bashi's on here as well. He's an 8-0 prospect. He's only 21 years old. You know what I mean? You could build up a really young prospect on the show. And yeah, I think he's fought some good guys too. 8-1, 9-3, 6-1. He's a young guy, man. You could build this guy up into something as well, especially off Ultimate Fighter or something like that. Marcus McGee's the final fighter on here. He's a little bit older than everyone else. He's 32 years old. But he would add, once again, a little bit of personality to the show, a little bit of flair to the show, a little bit of interest to the show. I thought that he was Nate Diaz. He trained with the Nate Diaz brothers, but I'm pretty sure that was his opponent, Luciano Ramos, who he recently beat. But yeah, dude, I think he would be pretty cool. He would definitely add some personality to the show. He would maybe start a couple of beefs with a couple of people, because I believe he had really bad blood with Luciano Ramos when he fought him. But yeah, I think Marcus McGee would make a good option for the show as well. Let me know what you think. If there's anyone you think would be on the show that could make a good appearance, UFC veteran at 135 or 155, or just the UFC prospect at 135 or 155, let me know. If you made it this far in the video, please do subscribe for more. Please do like the video, and please do leave a comment as well. I do try and reply to every comment I possibly can. So I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it.